Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and it's another intriguing Wednesday right here on the Kristocentric station. My name is Amoah, Edwin Techi, and you are welcome to the Kristocentric Agenda. On today's episode, we have an intriguing man, and we're here to discuss an intriguing issue, the issue of illegal mining, the issue of gold. And with us in the studio, we have the CEO of the Chamber of Licensed Gold Buyers, Mr. Amoah. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good. Yourself?
I'm good, and thank you for having me here.
Amazing. So,
thank you for your listeners, your viewers, and let me extend greetings to our membership as well too, and the regulators of the Industry Gold Board. Yeah.
Amazing. The Chamber of Licensed Gold Buyers is not an institution that a lot of Ghanaians know about. So, can you walk us through what the Chamber does, who it represents, and why it matters in Ghana's gold economy?
Yeah, thank you once again. It's not a case that we are not known. Probably we are less visible than other industry institutions like the Ghana Chamber of Mines. But of course, we are actively within the artisanal gold ecosystem, and we play our part importantly to ensure that there is responsible mining, and the industry is free of illicit trade, and then the issues of traceability. Now, upon the enactment of the law to grant the mandate to Gold Board to, as it were, regularize the artisanal small-scale mining, that is the downstream mining sector, the chamber also positioned itself to actively, engage within the same space, and our focus or our mandate essentially is to look at advocacy and, of course, the benefit that comes to key stakeholders like the members, who are the actors, regulators and government, and other key stakeholders within the same ecosystem. Now, the chamber sought out to, have a vision to position Ghana as a global leader in transparent and sustainable gold trade, where legitimate buyers, they thrive and illicit trade is eliminated, and the sector contributes meaningfully to national economic growth. Now, what we seek to do is to advance a certain cause, and it thrives on about 4 pillars, and that casts out our mission. Our mission is to advance a fair, secure, and profitable gold trade ecosystem by, first of all, championing ethical sourcing and responsible business conduct, providing members with business matchmaking training and market intelligence, advocating for the favorable regulations and industry standards, and finally, fostering collaborations between buyers, government, and international partners. So this sets out clearly our pathway within the artisanal small-scale ecosystem, in that we are aimed to support the formalization process that the Gold Board have set out, for. Now, why the chamber, or otherwise our role? Our role as advocates for our members is to advocate for them on regulatory policies and operational issues, in that these are informal players within the sector that we're speaking about, and they don't have any representative, with a voice that can speak to a regulator or otherwise the government regarding their concerns, their needs, and their challenges. So the Chamber of Licensed Gold Buyers sought to, and step in to take up this role and then be an authoritative voice to speak on behalf of the licensed gold buyers, or otherwise the actors that actually does the job and eventually gets the gold to the state, represented by a gold board. So we find ourselves relevant within the new structure of gold board, which is the formalization and the fact that they want to now streamline and regularize, the sector. So our advocacy comes in to speak as an influential and authoritative, voice for the gold buyers. Equally, we seek to also promote ethical and responsible gold trading. Now, in instances where the regulator also comes out with, policy, the chamber stands in to, as it were, alert the policymakers about the practical matters on the ground. So in the case in point, we had the regulator requesting that every tier 2 and tier 1 licensed gold buyer must obtain what we call the EPA permit. And the chamber had to put in a case in defense to, as it were, support the actors or members. Now, the practicality of it is that when you go to the market or you go to the field, the tier 2s are the operators that engage in activities that sort of compromises on sustainability issues because of a few materials that they use, and it has a way of impacting negatively on the environment. So the chamber made a very convincing argument to the regulator, which is Gold Board, that it is right for the tier 2s to be requested to, as it were, certify or otherwise obtain an EPA permit. And just so that the EPA would also come in to say that, look, we've given you clearance because of some of these materials that you use. But for the tier 1s, when you go onto the field, their core activities doesn't engage them to use such, materials. So the chamber's position was that the regulator should consider waiving off the EPA fees that, as it were, then levied on all licensed gold buyers. And indeed, the regulator, gave us audience on that, and also review our submission, and eventually requested that portion should be waived off. So these are some interventions that the chamber comes in, to, as it were, act for and on behalf of the actors, that is the licensed gold buyers. So these actually give credence to our relevance on the market, and of course within the artisanal small scale mining, gold ecosystem. Yeah.
So, can you describe the role your members play between the point of mining the gold, as in mining gold, and export?
Okay, so under the current scheme, the gold board is running a model we call the gold aggregation. So with the gold aggregation, the law mandates gold board that exclusive right to buy, sell, assay, and export gold. So what then it is that with the gold aggregation model, there are actors in the chain in between the the downstream and then the top. So at the top sits one licensed gold buyer known as the aggregator. In between, we have the self-finance aggregator, the tier one, the tier two, and then the tier one, and the miner. So the miner sits at the base of the structure. All right. So the members, we look at buyers, not miners.
Okay.
Yeah, so the members comprises of tier one, tier two licensed gold buyers, the self aggregator, and then the aggregator. Now, what these members sought to do is that within the chain, they are supposed to buy the gold from the miners. And once they buy the gold from the miners, they aggregate it to the aggregator. And once the aggregator aggregates everything, it hands it over to Gold Board. And then Gold Board use that for its purposes in order to meet what the national, broad agenda or policy. So our members are more or less like, we hold the base and then the top. So in the absence of that, then there's a vacuum. So we come in to hold the bottom and then the top in very, common explanation. So that is the essence of the relevance of our members.
Okay. So with the gold your members purchase from the miners, do you have an idea what portion or whether any of them come from those that are illegally mining? And are there any regulations available or made by your chamber to ensure that whatever gold is purchased by your members is mined legally and not illegally?
Yeah, okay. I think that what we must understand is that it is an informal sector that is going through formalization. And we can't overnight seek to, change what was wrong to become right. Yes, while there are some illicit practices, the agenda of the board, which is Gold Board, which the chamber aligns to, is that we want to formalize the sector. In formalizing the sector, the agenda is to curb illicit trade. The agenda is to promote responsible sourcing and mining. The agenda is to drive traceability. Do you understand? So, while some of these illicit practices may exist, the structure in place currently by the Gold Board, which the chamber also aligns to, is that every gram of gold that is purchased by the gold buyer, the licensed gold buyer, from the miner, has to go through a process of assessment by way of capturing it in a document, and obviously also doing some online reporting to Gold Board, the regulator. So this processes, assist or aid the regulator to be able to trace where each gram of gold is coming from. And to that extent, the chamber aligns to that. So what the chamber then does is that we also drive the advocacy of ensuring that every licensed gold buyer who is a member is adhering to the compliance standards. We believe that by so we are gradually, reducing and minimizing the acts of illicit trade that, is characterized with the industry. Like I initially said, we must all come to that acceptance that it's an informal sector and is now getting formalized. And so we have some few challenges, some teething problems that we'll go through. But I think that the structure in place is showing some results. And I believe that, of course, more can be done. And as the structure is in place, it's being rolled out. Any challenges that we see, any improvement that we will need to embark upon, definitely we will do so to arrive at a position whereby illicit trade is, completely, minimized or otherwise, gotten rid of within the sector.
Okay. Since the beginning of last year, Ghana's Utility Services, that's the Ghana Water Company Limited and ECG, they've been proposing increases in tariffs because of the effect of illegal mining happening within the country and affecting the water bodies. From where you sit as the CEO of the Chamber of Licensed Gold Buyers, speaking on the issue of illegal mining, do you feel we are dealing with that issue well enough, or are we being too soft?
Well, like I said, it's still an informal sector that is being or that's undergoing some form of transition or transformation. And when you look at where the chamber sits, our focus is on licensed gold buyers. But of course, the saying goes that there's no buyer without a miner, and there's no miner without a buyer. A miner and a buyer are bedfellows. So whatever activity that miners undertake or carry out that is an upfront to buyers could be considered that we should also be concerned about. In the case of what you mentioned, I think that the action now to address illicit mining, which in our common terminology we call the galamsey,
Yes.
it's actively being fought by the state. I think we all know the state is deploy some forces by way of their kinetic or a non-kinetic approach to address issues of illicit mining within the gold trading communities and districts. Yeah, its impacts on river bodies and cannot be ignored. We've all seen it, the reports, we've seen the visuals and all of that. But I must say that it is an activity on one breast that the state has embarked on and is fighting it. Now, to ask the question if they are doing enough, I would not, rush to say that I'm grading the state in their quest or their activities in their quest or activity in fighting the illicit mining activities. But what I think I would also want to concentrate or focus on is what then is the chamber also, putting out or otherwise introducing to also address some of these activities. So let me take this opportunity to say this. So as a chamber, our focus is with buyers. But like I earlier said, miners and buyers are bedfellows.
Yeah.
And, there's a certain tag when it comes to gold trade. It's as if, there's no proper businesses or business entities doing proper business or legitimate business gold trade within the sector. If we feel as buyers that is a certain tag and it's more or less like a stigma that we don't want to be associated with.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you mention that you are within the industry, the first thing anybody says is that you are doing galamsey.
Yes.
But that perception must, gradually fade in our businesses. And of course, when it comes to matters of gold trading within the sector or the artisanal small scale, sector. Now, what the chamber is seeking to do is that we have a proposal, which we are in discussion with some government authorities or institutions, and of course the regulator. And what it seeks to do is we want to, as it were, look at what sort of contribution buyers can also do towards, curbing or minimizing issues associated with this illicit mining activities. So in our way, we are looking at introducing what we call a reclamation fund. In that reclamation fund, the model is such that we would request every licensed gold buyer that for every gram that you sell, we take a cent out of it, and then over a period we accumulate this collections.
1 cent.
A cent.
Okay.
A cent. So we accumulate it over a period, and it is our belief that over a period we pull together this collections, and then we put it in a fund. Now once we have a fund, we can commence activities like reclaiming the portions of the lands that have gone into such activities, which is destroying settlements, etc., within the gold districts or the communities, so that over a period we use these resources to deploy tools, resources, machinery, equipment that can go into the field to reclaim this land. So it is our expectation that these proposals that we have on our table, which we forwarded to other stakeholders, particularly the state, it will receive some consideration, and if it does, we're believing that that will also be some part of our contribution towards addressing the acts of galamsey that you refer to.
Okay. For decades, Ghana has been described as a nation that is known to export raw gold and import refined gold. How would you describe this? Is it factual? Are we exporting raw gold and importing refined gold? Is that what is happening?
Well, I don't think this is difficult to comprehend. I think the facts are there. We can always, access it. We've been exporting raw gold. That is true. Until the Gold Board got the mandate to regulate the market and formalize the activities of the artisanal small-scale mining. Gold was exported by anybody, and the question is that how were they exporting this gold? In what form? In what state? Definitely was in the raw state, which you call dowry. And the broad agenda of the formalization program by the Gold Board is not just about licensed gold buyers. The broad agenda speaks to licensed gold buying. It speaks to refinery, licensing refineries. It speaks to storage, bullion, transportation, smelting. It speaks to even the jewelry aspect. So I want to believe that in the course of time, we will see the evolution of some of these licensees coming out. Now, the process commenced with the buying aspect, and for which reason the Gold Board had to start with the buyers. So they started issuing a license for the buyers. Shortly after that, they introduced the refineries. So as we speak, I think there are about 3 refineries that are licensed by Gold Board, who are supposed to refine and then change the status of our raw materials into a refined or a processed material for added value. So I think that the structure is being introduced now, and we can see some transformation in that regard, that gold is gradually changing or metamorphosing from how it used to be exported to a more of a processed material just for value addition. So there's data for you to confirm. There are 3 refineries that has been licensed by Gold Board, and my submission will be that we should see more of such refineries emerging. More of such refineries are obtaining the international standards we call the LBMA, etc., because that also gives more premium to the gold that we export. So I think that the facts are there. We can't say that we are still refining, or sorry, we are still exporting raw gold. There's a transition. We can see refinery companies being licensed, and so we are to that extent exporting refined product or otherwise processed gold.
If the government came to you tomorrow and asked the chamber for one of the most important recommendations to fix Ghana's gold sector, as the CEO of the chamber, what would you tell the government?
Yeah, so key, I think I've already mentioned it, and I'll re-echo it again, will be the reclamation fund. It's a fund that we're proposing for it to be established, for it to work. And what essentially, again, repeating it, will do is that it goes to send the core message to buyers, to miners, to every actor within the sector that we are not supposed to mine and create damage to the environment. Now, the global gold playground has actors, and these actors always ensure that every player within the space must comply with international standards. So issues about sustainability is key. And you see, when you mine gold in certain environments, it affects the value of your gold. It affects the patronage of your gold. So for instance, if you go to a Walton's area where gold is mined, and you can actually source the gold from, you realize that the value and the patronage of those gold, or that particular gold from that particular source, is totally different from a region which has the stability, there's compliance with sustainability issues. So we would champion and want to make that submission strongly to the regulator and to the government that we want a reclamation fund brought into existence, just so that we can use that to repair the fields that have been damaged. We can use that to repair settlements that have been damaged. We can use that to sensitize, the actors that this is what you're supposed to do. Sustainability is key within the trade. Sustainability is a requirement within the trade. And so with a humble submission, I would make this on this platform, make this submission that that proposal could receive the necessary attention to, as it were, cause or otherwise bring some transformation within the artisanal gold ecosystem.
Great. Before we come to an end, I want to ask you, should Ghana aim to process all of its gold locally?
Yes, I don't know why you would, as it were, consider processing parts outside. Is that your submission?
No, it's a question. I'm from
Yes,
your position.
in my view, yes. I mean, I would ask you, would you want all your tomatoes which you want to process into tomato paste done in Ghana, or you want portions sent outside?
Oh, we best if everything is done with
Exactly. So you've answered my question. So I think that's my position on that.
How would you envision Ghana's gold mining sector, the gold sector, in 20 years?
Yeah, good question. If with one spirit, everyone, state, players, citizens, I think that we see a massive transformation within the sector in the next 20 years. Its value to livelihood, its value to GDP, its value to the growth of our foreign exchange and in positions, its value to job creation. It's enormous. It's big. I say this because a process has commenced. We need to all align with it and drive the agenda rather than criticizing it when it is not required or needed, rather than making false comments or false accusations on some policies that has been introduced or some developments within the market. The formalization is leading to your earlier submission, processing of the material. Our existence in this country has been that for every material that we know we have, it's always been exported in the raw form, which doesn't give us the optimum earnings that we require or otherwise we need. And I think that for which reason we are where we are now. So if indeed everybody with one spirit can align to this agenda, I think that we will see the transformation of this sector, massive transformation within the next 20 years. And it will actually be, a pace setter so that other sectors would also replicate it and follow suit, so that we will have to commence the formalization of other sectors. Yeah. So I think that's the submission I will make here.
So I want to say a big thank you to you for joining us in the studio. All the points that you've made, they've been massive, they've been instrumental, they have been helpful. And I want to say on behalf of Kristocentric Station, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you too for hosting me and for having me here. And I'm looking forward to have another session with you too.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much.
So that was the CEO of the Chamber of Licensed Gold Buyers, Mr. Kwaku Amoah, with us here in the studio. To watch the full show, just go to the Kristocentric Station YouTube channel and watch from beginning to end. My name is Yeboah Edwin Techi, and that brings us to the end of another intriguing episode of the Kristocentric Agenda. Stay safe, God bless, and see you next week.
You're listening to Kristocentric.
For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Say it one more time. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now let me give you the literal meaning. If you'll put that up on the screen and we're going to read it together. I'll read it, then we'll do it together. This